This is a very important video if you are looking at buying in 2021. We are seeing appraisal gaps all the time. And we're seeing agents ask buyers up front, hey, how are we going to address the appraisal gap? And they're like, wait, what? What is that? And this is actually a video, this is the first year in my career where across the country, I am seeing the appraisal gap come into play. I've seen it in the San Francisco Bay Area for years, but it's nationwide now, so saddle up, here we go. Okay. So first of all, what is an appraisal gap? So an appraisal gap, is the difference between what the property appraises for and what you're purchasing it for. So if you're buying the house for $400,000 and it appraises at $380,000, you have a $20,000 appraisal gap. Okay, now prior to this market in most parts of the country, the seller would drop their price, right? To a large extent. Well, okay, it's 2021. So what we're seeing now is we're seeing realtors say to their clients, hey, how much above appraised value can I write in here? So they'll basically say like, look, this house is listed at 400. You're not gonna get it unless you offer 450. It's only gonna appraise at best for 410. So what are we gonna do about that $40,000? Okay, and they may be coming to you saying, hey, will you pay $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 over appraised value? We are seeing that on offers a lot right now. I have people call me constantly. They're like, Jen, the realtor's saying I have to pay $20,000 over appraised value. What do you think? Guys, I'm going to tell you exactly what I say to my clients. Do you want to pay over appraised value? Okay? Do you want to pay over appraised value? Now, before you guys even meet with a realtor, that is a question you need to ask yourself before you even step into a house, okay? Because once you meet with the realtor, once you step into a house, your emotions are at play. So we're gonna make a business decision now, okay, before you're emotional. If you found a house that you liked a ton and it was a great house and the appraisal came in low, how much would you be comfortable paying over appraised value? Now remember, the appraised value is an appraiser's determination of what they think the house is worth based on current comparable sales, okay? It's not just a random number. However, there can be variation. You know, appraisers can be, you know, it's not exactly to the dollar all the time. So if you find your perfect house, how much over appraised value are you willing to spend? Okay, that's the question that you need to ask yourself. You need to discuss with your partner right now, and you need to write down that number on an envelope. Okay, if that number is 0, then that's how you feel. You don't want to pay over appraised value, which I totally get. There are a lot of people not paying over appraised value in this market. Just as many who are not are, okay? And it's not a bad thing either way. In certain markets, for certain houses, there's a lot of people offering to pay more than what the house is appraising at. And the reason is because the market is moving so fast that the comparable sales won't keep up, okay? And so that's something that you guys need to keep in mind and have your answer before you meet with the realtor. If you don't have a lot of cash, well then guess what? The answer is 0, okay? You don't want to put yourself in a bad financial position to pay more for a house than what the appraiser determines it's worth, okay? Okay, let's say you're sitting on a ton of cash. Okay, your answer still might be 0. Yeah, it might still be 0 because you may not want to pay over appraised value. You may not want to get into a situation that's so competitive that people are offering to pay more than what the house is appraised at. Okay, but you want to have that answer now. It is not uncommon right now to see people writing into offers, buyer offers 400 and is willing to pay 5,000 over appraised value. That way the listing agent can go, okay, realistically it's going to appraise at 380. So with this offer, I can tell my seller, worst case, we're at 385. Okay, now if you just write that offer at 400, they don't know how you're going to treat that gap. So a realtor may advise it's a riskier offer, whereas if you say how you're going to treat the gap, they at least have better numbers. But that's also assuming that the listing agent is doing comparable sales and has a good idea of where the property should come in at, which right now totally depends on where you are in the country. There's some listing agents who aren't pulling comparable sales. They're basically just like listing it at whatever the seller wants. You've got other agents who are pulling comparable sales, but the market's moving so quick in an upwards direction that it's impossible to guess. So they, and I've talked to them and I'm like, well, what do you think it's gonna appraise at? And they're like, I have no idea. I'm like, okay. Well, this borrower has said in their offer they can only do 5,000 over appraised value, and that's all they can do. So that's it. Okay. But what's interesting about this is a new market phenomenon across the country, right? It used to be just so isolated, but as it enters more and more markets, it's really tough on buyers because you guys are like, oh my God, I have to save up for the down payment, closing costs, and now the appraisal gap, seriously? And the answer is, it depends, guys. It just depends. I was talking to a client recently and she had probably written 50 offers. Every offer she was offering to pay $40,000 over appraised value. Every single offer. Her offers were still getting rejected because there was either cash coming in or there was someone offering to pay 50 or 60K. So just because you have money to bridge some of that difference doesn't mean you're necessarily gonna win. So I don't want you guys to think, oh, well, if I had 5K, then I would get my offer accepted. Oh, if I had this, then my offer. Don't beat yourself up like this. This market is about luck to a large extent. Luck, timing, having a strong agent, and being true to yourself. Be very careful not to get sucked into the fear of missing out. But before you go to those houses, before you meet with that realtor, write down on that piece of paper right now, how much are you willing to pay over appraised value? Thanks for watching. As always, I'm licensed in 46 states and I would love to help you with your loan. Feel free to reach out.